Hello everyone, my name is Michael and I'm talking to you from the Verse. If you are not familiar with what the Verse is, I encourage you to go to my website, rewritingtheverse.com, and there you'll find all the information that I know about the Verse, including updates and past life regressions that are written out and videos. So one of the things that I do is my main modality of healing on the planet is past life regressions and rewrites. So I have the ability to go back in the past, however far back, current life or past life, and understand what happened, see what happened, and then, if it's needed, create a rewrite that has a better outcome. And so this is one of the things I do on a personal level. So if you're interested in having a private session for one of your past lives and or a current life and have a rewrite for it, you can find that information on my website and book a private reading. I also do them on a much bigger scale, on a global scale, universal, etc. And what I talked about in the last video was a lot of past life rewrites I've done for Lemuria, as they were a key soul group that was a part of, at least on this planet, starting to anchor in and prepare for what is now happening with the ascension process. Last week, I talked about how the Verses, the Trinities, all those people from the Lemurian timelines were coming together and unifying at a whole nother level right now. Once that seemed to be finished last weekend, today is the 7th of October, so I'm talking about over a week ago. Shortly thereafter, Atlantis came knocking, saying, hey, we're here too, and we want to be a part of the Verse as well. What my understanding was, by virtue of them being a part of the drama that was happening with Lemuria and ultimately led to the sinking of Lemuria, they were caught up in the energetic issues that were going on in Atlantis. Now, certainly there was a very, very dark element there in Atlantis. That core group did end up later becoming the Nazis in Germany. However, just like in Germany, not everybody in Germany supported what they were doing, let alone wanted to actually be a part of the fighting machine. And yet, because of some similar dynamics that were happening in Atlantis, they were sucked into that. And unfortunately, they are also caught up in the karma of that. So I needed to go back and look at Atlantis then, and it was the same basic timeline as far as something that was happening in Atlantis alongside what was happening in the Lemurian lifetimes right before the sinking. So in this version, and this is spelled out in detail on an update, Atlantis Awakens is the title of that one. I saw actually, there were royal families connected to the timelines with the Lemurians, royal families being torn apart. In this particular lifetime that I'm looking at with the Atlanteans, it's actually a simple farmer and his family that were actually consciously trying to stay away from all the drama and all the hate and everything that was happening in Atlantis. Yet, despite their efforts, this farmer in particular was drawn into the machine that would become the equivalent of the Nazis in Atlantis. And it shows his personal journey. His family, too, got torn apart. In fact, I'll just say that he was basically drafted into it. He had no choice. And from what I saw, no family in Atlantis had a choice in participating in that. They pretty much would come to the door and say this has been implemented. One of the males in the household had to go, and it didn't matter if it was a child either. They figured, well, they'll be in service long enough, they'll eventually be able to be a full-fledged soldier, and in the meantime, they can indoctrinate them all they want. So no family in Atlantis, Atlantis was a huge continent, was able to escape this. So this man in the storyline ends up getting drawn in that way and has no contact with his family for nearly 20 years. So talk about family breakups at a whole nother level. This wasn't just the royal families over there experiencing it. The entire continent experienced their families being torn in two, all at the same time. So there's a lot of trauma that Atlantis is having to clear as well. I won't go into the details about how it turned out, so you need to go to the website and read the actual update, but I'll tell you, The rewrite was very powerful, and ultimately it leads to a happily ever after for the entire planet. So that's big, considering they were considered the villains basically in the first version. So I encourage you to go check that out. So once again, we have another soul group that has come in, identify themselves. But what I want you to understand is we have multiple incarnations. I think I need to explain a little bit about what I have seen in past life regressions. We do not have one life and then another life and then linear. No, the universe is way too efficient for that. We have multiple lifetimes and multiple groups and multiple light, dark, up, down, all the different, we have aspects of ourselves all over the place. And you'll see, actually, they're the same soul that one of the stories in Lemuria is actually the same soul that's over here in Atlantis on the other side of the fence. So we are learning lessons, going through a lot of trauma as well, in multiple lifetimes, even at the same time. So a lot of people don't understand how much we live physical incarnations on this planet, but it's pretty much infinite at this point, and it goes way before planet Earth. A lot of people think, oh, we've just been around for I don't know how many thousands of years. That's not the case. We've been playing this drama with these other groups over and over and over again. These Nazis, I'm calling them that just because they've been here in some form or another with us every single time. They have been our nemesis for a very long time. However, it's time for that to end. It's time for those dramas to end. I guarantee you they don't want to play those roles anymore either. They would like to be released from whatever karmic agreements there were so that they don't have to play and be in the dark anymore as well. So there's a lot of healing happening on the planet right now. It's about unification right now, not about separation. So I'm not here to point fingers at any particular group. In fact, okay, Nazis, as much as I don't like what you did, I also know that you pushed us out of our comfort zone enough for us to have to really look at ourselves, to strengthen ourselves, and to stand up for ourselves. That's ultimately what it seems to be. We're a little reluctant sometimes to do that, especially if you're polarized towards the light side. But either way, lessons learned. We don't need people to play those old roles anymore. And as Lemurians, or those that were more on the victim side of things, we don't need to be victims anymore. We are standing up. We are in our power now. We no longer need those lessons. So if you have people in your life that are playing those villains for you right now, I'm telling you, if you're in your power, you don't need them anymore. And it's time to let those energies go. So if you are in the verse, if you feel like you resonate with this and you are part of these soul groups, that means you're vibrating high enough not to need those old lessons anymore. So if you're still hanging around or trying to hang on to those old, outdated, sometimes really toxic relationships, it's time to let those go. So thank you, Lemurians, for who you were for us in being a catalyst for our own personal growth. I hope my update that describes the past life regression that I did and rewrite honors you. There may be more about Atlantis coming, or there might not be. I'm not sure yet, but either way, we honor them. And with that healing, we welcome them to the verse. Everyone have a great day. Bye-bye.